Hey, welcome. Today we are going to learn about annual percentage yield. So when you look at a savings account, it'll show you what is the APY, the annual percentage yield that you're going to earn on the account. The annual percentage yield is the effective rate that you earn over time when interest is compounded on interest. All right, so first we're just going to calculate the value of this investment at the end of 1 year. So we have principal compounded annually. That tells me N is 1. That tells me the p-value at the 8% APR. So the rate is 0.08, and this said at the end of 1 year, so therefore I know that T is 1. So I'm just using my compound formula that we did last week. A equals P, 1 plus R divided by N to the exponent of NT. Your principal is 1,000. Your rate is 0.08. N is 1. N is 1, and T is also 1. So when I run that in my calculator, I got 1,080. Now we're going to take this and we are going to compound it quarterly. So at the end of 1 year, T is still 1, P is still 1,000, but now N is 4 and R is still 0.08. So now I'm just substituting all these values into my compound formula. The principal is the 1,000. My rate is 0.08. My N is 4, N is 4, and T is 1. So when I run this in my calculator, I get $1,082.43. So what we've learned is that when it compounds more often, then you earn more money because it is compounding the interest from every single time it compounds, and it's building on one another. So we are going to calculate the relative increase between these two investments. I'm going to call this first one A and that second one B. Relative increase is something that we have done before. This is taking new minus old divided by old. So relative increase is just the decimal version of percent increase. So we're basically testing what is the percent increase when it compounds. So the new amount, these are going to be the new amounts. That one's going to be the new amount. And the old amount is the $1,000 initial principal that we put in. So in A, I have 1,080 minus 1,000 divided by 1,000. When I put that in my calculator, I got 0.08. I moved it 2 spaces to the right, and I got 8%. Maybe you're thinking, this isn't very dramatic, Kathy. Well, here's what we did. In this one, this annual percentage rate equals your annual percentage yield because I only compounded once a year. Now we're going to do it with this problem. So I'm going new minus old divided by old again. Now my new amount is $1,082.43. I'm going to subtract off my $1,000 initial investment. divided by 1,000. So now I'm essentially taking $82.43 divided by 1,000, and I got 0.08243. So when I move this one to the right, I get 8.243%. So this is what we call my APY. So this is my yield. So it does matter, and it does make a difference in your account how often it compounds. So when it only compounds once a year, your rate and your yield turn out to be exactly the same thing. However, when it gets to compound, then your yield is larger than your initial rate was. So a formal definition of annual percentage yield, or APY, is the actual rate of return that will be earned in 1 year if interest is compounded. Okay. So now I'm going to deposit 1,000. I'm going to keep using this APR, the rate of 8%. So that means my R is 0.08. I'm going to deposit 1,000, so that's my principal. We're going to find the yield, so this is going to be a two-step process, and I have monthly compounding. So N equals 12, and I apparently forgot to state it, but I am stating that N is 1 in these problems. All right, so I'm going to run my compound interest formula. A equals P times 1 plus R over N to the NT. So your principal is 1,000. My rate is 0.08. Now N is 12 to the exponent of 12 times 1, which is just 12. So I got 1,082.9995. And so money is 2 decimals. The 9 rounds that up, which rounds that up, which rounds that up. And so I'm estimating this at $1,083. All right, so this right here is going to be my new amount. So now when I want to find the yield, Y-I-E-L-D, so to find the yield, you're using the relative change, new minus old divided by old. So my new is 1,083. My old is my $1,000 initial investment divided by $1,000. So I get 0.083. If you move that 2, then I have a yield of 8.3%, which is my APY, my annual percentage yield. So the more often I allow it to compound, the more I'm effectively earning. So I'm being paid on 8%, but when I let it compound, it's driving it up to 8.3%. What happens if we allow it to compound daily? A equals P times 1 plus R divided by N to the NT. My principal is 1,000. My rate is 0.08 divided by 365. Raised to the 365 times 1. So when I did this, I got 1,083.2775. I'm going to round to 2 decimals. The 7 is going to round that 7 up to an 8. So $1,083 and 28 cents is how much money I will have. So what is my yield? I'm going to take new minus old, divided by old to figure this out. This 1,083 and 28 cents is my new. My old amount is the $1,000 initial investment, divided by 1,000. Get 0.08328, move it, and I get 8.328%, which is my APY. All right, good job.